But now we're in a day where we can afford a tablet, or at least a smartphone for every student. And that changes the question to one of, can you use technology to move us from the blue curve to the red curve and ultimately to the green curve? So the nice thing about computers is that they're really good at mastery learning because they have absolutely no problem showing you the same video 5 times until you get it. They even don't mind grading the same piece of homework 4 times where your average TA would just throw in the towel and walk away. And so mastery is actually well within reach. Personalization, we've shown some elements of that by having students go at their own pace, at their own time. That's a very critical aspect of personalization, and there's papers supporting that. There's other aspects of using big data to provide personal feedback to students that I haven't talked about, but I could answer questions about. And so we hope to be able to eventually also get us a little closer to the green curve. The second place where quality can be done is what's come to be called flipped classroom. So here is one of my favorite quotes about traditional lecture teaching. It goes back to the 1900s with the renowned education researcher Edwin Lawson, who said the college is a place where professors' lecture notes go straight to the students' lecture notes without passing through the brains of either. And I think that's not an unfair description of the student experience in a traditional lecture class. But fortunately, maybe we can now have the opportunity to move away from this and into something that looks more like this, what's called blended learning or flipped classroom, where the student gets the content outside the classroom in a more interactive and engaging format, and then comes into classroom for much more meaningful engagement and dialogue with fellow students and a professor. And here, fortunately, again, smart people have studied this and shown the benefits to student outcomes. Carl Wyman is a Nobel Prize-winning physicist who's been studying education for a large number of years, and he has done a study in a large introductory physics class, physics for non-physics majors, a very difficult class to teach, and has measured outcomes for 2 populations, those taught in a traditional lecture by an award-winning lecturer, and those taught in active learning in the classroom, in a flipped classroom model. And he shows significant improvements in every single outcome, including performance on a standardized test. And this is consistent across many other classes that he's tried this on with collaborators. So this is a place where quality can be improved. So that brings us to a final slide. This is actually a slide generated by Professor Christian Turwish, who taught the operations research class from Wharton Business School on Coursera. And he argues that what MOOCs do is they move the Pareto-optimal frontier of education from where it currently is, which is the one that you see on the left, where there's the traditional trade-off between faculty productivity and student learning. If we could afford an individual instructor for every student, we would have great learning outcomes, but at significant costs. Traditional instruction, which is the black dot, is where you have to scale up to increase faculty productivity, but you reduce learning outcomes. And this is a traditional trade-off, a standard trade-off. What Christian argues is that MOOCs provide us with a new frontier. And you can use that new frontier in a variety of ways. You can keep learning outcomes the same, but reduce costs by using the MOOC to offer an education at effectively a 0 marginal cost per student. Or you can keep faculty productivity the same and improve learning outcomes using the blended learning format, which I showed on the previous slides. And so this gives us, or anything in between. These are just 2 points on that new frontier that this technology enables. So that brings me to the final points that I'd like to make, which has to do with the whole issue of cost and what it is that we're trying to do with these open online courses. The first is, there's, I think, 4 places where we can really make an improvement.